Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay. What did you do 1 week? Did you have fun? Did you relax? Arey, 1 week holidays. Did you relax yourself? Did you enjoy?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you should. This is how you'll get recharged, na? You should always enjoy whenever you get holidays. Even if you're not able to go out in this, but still at home, you can have fun. So, how many of you slept for late and had fun in these holidays? Did you enjoy? Get a break, you should take a rest and enjoy. Okay. Now you'll have your UTs in June. So be prepared for that as well. Is it okay? So start studying. Okay, tell me, what is artificially prepared human insulin called? Let me see how much we remember what we did.
Genetically
those,
insulin.
those who were present can always answer. Artificially prepared synthetic insulin. What is it called? What is it? Yes. Humulin. How many chains are there in that? How many chains? 1, 2, 3. How many chains are there? Artificially prepared insulin.
2.
2 or 3? Tell me, how many chains are there in artificially prepared insulin? Do we have 2 strands or 3 strands?
3.
Loudly.
1, 2.
Yes, 2. Very good. Okay. Immature insulin, how many strands are there?
3.
3. 3. Very good. And when the insulin becomes mature, automatically there are 2 strands. Name the company first who prepared this artificial insulin.
Eli Lilly.
Eli Lilly.
Very good. Very good. Which country was it? Which country does it belong to?
American.
America.
Very good. Now we are going to read about stem cell technology. We'll finish this chapter today. We'll be starting a new and difficult unit from tomorrow. So stem cell technology. Have you heard about the stem cells in the newspaper or somewhere? This is something very latest these days. Have you ever read about preserving of stem cells or having a stem cell bank? Has anyone heard of this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What little bit idea you have about stem cell technology? Yes. Any idea about stem cells? Beta, you must have read in the newspapers, like you keep your valuable things in a locker and you have to pay the rent annually. Similarly, now we have stem cell banks where stem cells are preserved and you have to pay yearly rent kind of a thing to keep them safe. Like in a bank locker, you keep things safe. Do you need to pay for that or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So similarly, these are also very valuable. Stem cells are very valuable. So we need to preserve them. Whenever needed, we can take them from the bank, and every year we need to pay the bank, though it's an expensive process. But it has already started in India now. The only problem is that this is an expensive process. Now we are going to understand why people spend so much of money on preserving the stem cells of newborn babies. Normally what happens is when a baby is born, the stem cells are preserved in the bank for lifelong. So either the parents pay for the entire life of the child or they pay it yearly, whatever is convenient for them. Why are stem cells so valuable? Why do we pay so much to preserve them? That is what we are going to understand today. The most rapidly developing field, beta, okay, is this stem cell technology, because it helps you to treat malignant and non-malignant diseases. What do you mean by malignant and non-malignant diseases? Any idea? What are malignant diseases? Anyone? Can anyone tell me what a malignant and non-malignant disease is? No guesses also. Not even trying. Guess what is a malignant disease?
Those which are present from birth.
Those are congenital diseases. Diseases which are present from the time of birth. They are known as congenital diseases. What are malignant diseases? Any idea? Anyone in the class? Guess, Peter. At least she guessed it out.
Which are from birth.
Okay. The ones which are from birth are malignant or non-malignant?
The malignant.
Ma'am, diseases like cancer.
Very good, Peter. You've given the correct example. Malignant is when cells become abnormal and the neighboring cells also get affected. And non-malignant, only that particular cell or that particular organ is getting affected now. And we can treat both of these diseases by using which cells? What are these cells
Stem
called?
cells.
Stem
Stem
cells.
What are stem cells, beta? They are undifferentiated cells. If you remember in class 9, we did the definition of differentiation. When cells become mature and they take a fixed shape and a fixed function, this process is called differentiation. So when is a cell said to be differentiated? A cell is said to be differentiated, then it has acquired a fixed shape and it has taken a fixed function. After that, it will not change. After that, it will not change its shape, it will not change its function. So such kind of cells are called differentiated cells. But immature young cells, those which have not yet taken a shape or not yet decided their function, they're known as undifferentiated cells. What are these cells called as?
Undifferentiated.
Yes. Now, these undifferentiated cells, they divide and produce more stem cells. Supposing we have 10, by division, they will produce more. And these cells are found in all multicellular organisms. They are of two types. Stem cells are of two types. This is important. Embryonic stem cells. This is isolated from blastocyst stage. This is the growing stage of an embryo. One of the stages in when an embryo is growing, blastocyst stage. So those which are extracted from a blastocyst stage, embryonic stage, when the baby is not born, before that, that is known as embryonic stem cells. And those which are present after the birth also, especially in the brain. What are these stem cells called as? Adult stem cells. They exist in the body after the embryo has developed. So what are the two kinds of stem cells we have?
Embryonic and adult stem cells.
Embryonic and adult stem cells.
Beta, embryonic stem cells are actually extracted at which stage? The blastocyst stage. When are they extracted?
At the stage of blastocyst.
Blastocyst
Yes.
stage.
One of the stages when the fetus is growing, not yet born. And there are adult stem cells also, which are present after an individual has developed, after the embryo has developed. The potential application of stem cells include organ and tissue generation. Now, why do we preserve these stem cells? I told you they are undifferentiated cells. That means they have not yet acquired a fixed shape or a fixed function. So supposing there is a damage to an organ or a tissue, or the bone marrow has a problem, a person is suffering from some brain disease, or there is deficiency of cells, we have cardiovascular diseases like heart diseases, blood diseases, where blood replacement has to be done. All these kind of problems, if a patient is facing, then these stem cells help us. How? The damaged cells are removed, and what is inserted in that area is the stem cells. I told you stem cells are undifferentiated cells. They have not yet acquired any function or any shape. So wherever you will put them, they will acquire the same shape and take the same function. So the damaged cells are removed, and what is inserted is the stem cells. So a person can live a healthy life throughout the person when they are alive, they can live a healthy life. Supposing some organ is damaged, let's talk about kidney or any other organ, then that kidney is removed. What is the normal process? We have to do kidney transplantation. But if the stem cells are there, this organ can simply be removed. Stem cells can be inserted, they'll increase in number. And when they get differentiated, they'll acquire the shape and function. They will work according to the function of the kidney only. So you'll have a natural kidney growing up. Similarly, there's a problem in the bone marrow. Then also we can have the transplantation. We can put stem cells here. Brain cells, if some brain cells have got damaged, they can be removed and stem cells can be put. Stem cells will take the shape and function of the brain cells. So this is how the stem cells help us. We don't have to go into detail, but very quickly, let's do this. What are the two types of stem cells?
Embryonic and adult stem cells.
Yes. At which stage do we extract the embryonic stem cells?
Blastocyst.
Blastocyst stage.
Name 3 areas where stem cell technology can be applied to.
Brain disease treatment, blood
Tissue
disease
regeneration, bone marrow transplantation.
Yes, Peter. So we'll discuss about this. One day I'll show you a video. Let me complete this. It's a little interesting topic for you. So once I finish this, I'll show you a video on stem cells. We move on to gene therapy. What do we do in this? It's a collection of methods which allows the correction of a genetic defect that has been diagnosed in a child or an embryo. Remember, this therapy can only be used for children, born or not yet born. So only child or embryo. We cannot use this for adults. What is the difference between gene therapy and cell? This stem cell technology can be used for mature individuals also. But gene therapy is mainly successful only in the case of a child or unborn, embryo stage. Whatever the defect alleles of the genes, means if the gene becomes defective, it is replaced by a normal gene, and then this normal gene will do the functions of the gene which was damaged, and it will compensate the non-functional gene. Understood what is gene therapy? The defective gene beta is taken out and it is replaced by a normal gene. So this normal gene, when it enters the baby's body, it will compensate. How will it compensate? It will do all the functions which the older gene was performing. What is this therapy called as?
Gene therapy.
Gene therapy. Supposing somebody's gene, somebody, when I say I mean a child or an embryo, some gene has become defective or it has become mutant. What does the word mutant mean?
non-functional.
Basically, the word mutant means sudden change. What does the word mutant mean, children?
Sudden
Sudden change.
So sometimes what happens is the genes either they become defective or there is a sudden change in the genes, structural change or functional change. They become inactive, they become non-functional, and they stop working. So what do? We normally insert a normal gene. This normal gene will compensate for the non-functional gene by doing all the functions of the gene. The first gene therapy was attempted in 1990 on a 4-year-old girl. This is very important, children, to learn this. Adenosine deaminase deficiency. This girl had a problem. ADA deficiency. What deficiency she had?
ADA deficiency.
Now, this is an enzyme. What is ADA? Basically, it is an enzyme which gives immunity to the human body. Why is ADA so important?
It gives immunity.
Yes, it gives immunity. Now, this 4-year-old girl, babe, the one who we're talking about, this child had an ADA deficiency. That means she did not have sufficient amount of this enzyme in the body. Because she did not have sufficient amount of this enzyme, her immunity was very, very low. So in such cases, the child often dies. Why? Because normal cough cold leads to pneumonia. If a child with powerful immunity is getting a cough and a cold, a child who is not having immunity, who is having ADA deficiency, will die because of cough and cold only. The reason? The immunity is very, very low. Which enzyme is responsible for immunity? Please name the enzyme.
ADA.
ADA. Let us have the full form. A stands for adenosine. D is D and aminase. Adenosine deaminase. Name the enzyme which is responsible for immunity.
Adenosine deaminase.
Adenosine deaminase.
Very good. So there were these two people, Blaise and Andresco. Name of these two people. Okay, they did this gene therapy. This was the first gene therapy. How did they do this? This disorder is caused due to deletion of the gene for adenosine deaminase. Why is this disorder caused? Because the gene which is responsible for making this enzyme, again and again I'm asking, what is the name of the enzyme?
Adenosine deaminase.
Adenosine deaminase.
This got deleted. Okay, it was cut at due to any sudden change. And in some children, this deficiency can be cured by bone marrow transplantation. So there is one way of treating this also. That is bone marrow transplantation. And the other is enzyme replacement therapy. But beta, both of them we have a problem. Either you replace the bone marrow, after bone marrow transplantation, there is one problem. After few years, you have to continuously keep on doing this. Once and for all, it cannot be done. So this problem was there. Enzymes, again the same problem. Enzyme replacement theory. We insert artificial enzymes, they work for some time, then again the enzymes had to be inserted. So the problem was that both of them are not completely curative. Again and again, after few years, the child had to do either bone marrow replacement or the child had to undergo this process of taking inside the enzymes. So both of them were not completely curative. They should not cure the child. That is the reason gene therapy was introduced. Let us see what are the steps in gene therapy. Yes, in the first step, lymphocytes from the blood of the patient are grown in a culture outside the body. What do we do? Listen carefully. We take lymphocytes. What are lymphocytes?
Some type of
WBC.
WBC.
Yes, beta, we are talking about blood cells. Na? Supposing there is a patient and we want to do gene therapy, the first thing we'll do is we'll take out blood cells from the patient's body and artificially we will grow them in a culture outside the body. Then what will we do? We'll take a functional ADA. Functional ADA. What is ADA?
Adenosine
Adenosine
deaminase.
deaminase.
Yes. Now we take a functional ADA. What do you mean by functional ADA, children? What do you mean by functional ADA?
Which can provide immunity.
Yes, which provides immunity. That is known as a functional ADA. Because this is an enzyme which is responsible for what?
Immune system.
Providing immunity.
Yes, beta. So we took a functional ADA and we took a retroviral vector, retrovirus. Basically, we have taken the vector as which vector?
Retroviral vector.
Retroviral.
What is the basic reason? What are we trying to? Beta C. What are we basically trying to do? We've taken a retrovirus. What is a retrovirus? A virus which has RNA as a genetic material is called a retrovirus. Normally, we know DNA is the genetic material, but those viruses which have what?
RNA.
RNA is genetic.
Yes, very good. What happens is when retrovirus, it goes inside a cell beta, what does it do? It makes a copy of its own types and thus it makes a double-stranded DNA. Understood retroviruses, why are they so important? Why do we consider them as vectors? The reason is very simple. Whenever a retrovirus will enter a cell, it will make a copy of its own genome so that it becomes double-stranded DNA. See cDNA. Can you see cDNA? Complementary DNA. What does cDNA stand for?
Complementary DNA.
DNA.
So we have taken retrovirus as a vector and this retrovirus had one strand of its own genetic material. It is also carrying this enzyme ADA and we artificially put it into the lymphocytes of the patient. We had extracted the lymphocytes, if you remember. The first step was extraction of lymphocytes, growing them in a culture outside. Second is, what are we inserting? Functional ADA. Who's going to carry this functional ADA? Tell me, which is a vector?
Retrovirus.
Retrovirus.
Good. Okay. Now see the third one. As these cells are not immortal, the patient requires periodic infusion of such genetically engineered lymphocytes. But now see the problem. Supposing we have taken out 100 blood cells, and in 100 blood cells, we have inserted ADA. After a certain time, these cells will die. We know that all cells die after a certain time. So those cells in which we had inserted ADA will die. Again, the child will not have immunity. So again, we will have to take out some more blood cells, artificially insert ADA and put it again in the body of the individual. Because we know that all cells, they die after some time. These cells are not immortal, so they're going to die. So periodic infusion had to be done. We had to keep on periodically. Periodically means after a certain time, we had to insert these artificial lymphocytes. Why are we calling them genetically engineered lymphocytes? Why are we calling these lymphocytes as genetically engineered? Because we have inserted artificially what in them?
ADA.
ADA.
Supposing there are 1 million blood cells in a baby's body, and what has happened is in 100 blood cells, we have inserted ADA. So the child is getting immunity, but as soon as these 100 cells will die, what will happen? Again, the child will not have immunity. So again, you will have to take out another 100 of them. This is periodic infusion. What is this process called as?
Periodic infusion.
Periodic infusion.
Very good. After a certain period, you have to infuse, you have to artificially inject these lymphocytes. So this was a very, very difficult process. But beta, if the gene isolated from marrow cells producing ADA is introduced into the cells, so we got a solution for this. What is the solution? Supposing we introduce the gene which is responsible, okay, for making ADA at a very early stage. Which stage? Embryonic stage. Because you know in embryonic stage what happens is differentiation has not taken place. Later the cells pick up a shape and a function. So what did we do? We took a gene which produced what?
ADA.
ADA. And we inserted that gene in the embryonic stage. That gene will automatically keep on producing ADA. So this is a permanent cure. But this can be done only with small children up to 6-7 years, because after that the cells become differentiated, entire number of them. Some other diseases that can be treated by gene therapy are hemophilia, cystic fibrosis, Parkinson's disease, etc. Chale, let me do this with you very quickly. Okay, what do? We had a defective gene. We are going to replace it by a normal gene. In which year first was this attempted?
1990.
1990.
Okay, how old was the girl?
4
4
years.
years.
What deficiency she had?
And the amino deficiency.
Yes, she had this deficiency. Who were the two people who treated it? Who tried it for the first time? Yes.
Ambly, W.F. Anderson.
Yes, beta. The problem was that if ADA enzyme is not working, then what problem can be faced? What is the problem in individuals if the enzyme is not working?
Weak immune system.
Yes, very good. Weak immune system. Because this enzyme is responsible for?
Immunity.
Providing immunity.
Yes, Bache. So all those people who did not have this enzyme in sufficient amount, what was the problem? The immunity was not there. And why was this happening? Because of the deletion of the gene which produces this enzyme. This gene got deleted. So what were the two options we had earlier? Curing? Tell me. One is?
Bone marrow transplantation.
Bone
Yes.
marrow.
Which is not easy. Every time the bone marrow has to be transplanted, maybe in a year or two, continuously you have to keep on doing this. And second is artificially keep on inserting this enzyme ADA. But there was a problem, common problem with both of these. What is the common problem with both the treatments?
They are not
completely curative.
Yes, they're not completely cured. After every 6 months or 1 year, the process has to be repeated. So we went for gene therapy. In gene therapy, what is the first stage? What do we extract from the body or the blood of the patient?
Lymphocyte.
Lymphocytes.
And we grow them outside in a culture. So the number is going to increase. Fine. Then we insert this functional ADA using which vector?
Retroviral.
Yes. So now your blood cells, which we had taken out, contain ADA. So we will put these blood cells back to the patient's body. But the problem was coming the same, that these cells will die. So the patient requires what? Which kind of infusion is required?
Periodic infusion.
Periodic infusion.
periodic.
Again, this was a problem. So the simple way was, why not insert the gene which produces ADA rather than producing ADA every time, rather than inserting ADA every time in the patient's body? See, the approach is different. First, हम लोग क्या कोशिश कर रहे थे? We were focusing on ki which enzyme is not being made in the body. ADA is not being made, so let's put ADA inside the body. But this was a very difficult process because those cells used to die. Then again, ADA had to be inserted. So scientists thought that why not insert the gene only which produces ADA? So if you'll have a gene, continuously it will produce ADA, but this has to be done at a very early stage, preferably embryonic stage, before the baby is born. That is the best stage to do. So then it was introduced, and this could be a permanent cure. Name 3 diseases where this gene therapy can be used.
Hemophilia, Parkinson disease, and citrus fibrosis.
Yes, very good. Molecular diagnosis we had done. Now, what is diagnose? What do you mean by diagnose? When you go to a doctor, he writes certain diagnostic tests, blood test, urine test, ECG. These are all diagnostic tests. Okay? To understand, now supposing there is a disease and treatment has to be done, then what is very important? Early diagnosis is very important in physiology. Earlier we had these methods. These are conventional methods. पुराने जमाने से जो चला रहा, that method, conventional method. Serum and urine analysis. Which are the 2 conventional methods were used to detect diseases by doctors?
Serum and urine analysis.
Serum and urine analysis.
But there is a problem in this, that the early detection is not possible. The signs of a disease will show in the serum and the urine only when the infection has spread a lot. Only then urine gets infected. In the initial stages, urine will not show any symptoms of the disease. It's only after the disease has spread a lot in the body and it has already damaged some part, only then the urine shows symptoms. So these are conventional Purani Jamane ka methods, serum analysis and urine analysis. The problem which the doctors were facing were that early detection was not possible. So we have modern diagnosis methods. This is PCR. Those who were present that day, they know about PCR. What is the full form of PCR? I already told you.
Polymerase chain reaction.
Polymerase chain reaction.
See, this is a very important technique. It serves the purpose of amplification of nucleic acid. That day also I told you the main purpose of PCR is to make multiple copies. Okay? Make multiple copies of the material. So here also it is doing the same work, amplification of nucleic acid. How does this help, beta? This helps in the detection of disease or a pathogen. The presence of a pathogen is suspected only when the pathogen has produced a disease symptom. Normally what happens is, supposing you have cough and cold, once you already start sneezing, running nose, then you feel ki I think I have a viral infection. But when the virus enters the body, we cannot make out. When the bacteria is entering the body, we cannot make out. पता कब चलता है? पता तब चलता है when it has already affected the body, when some symptoms start appearing. But by this time, the number of pathogens is already very high in the body. You know, these bacteria and viruses, they multiply very quickly. So even if one bacteria has entered and 3 days ke baad, you get to know the symptoms. Supposing there's a stomach upset or you've got diarrhea symptoms, this shows that a bacteria has entered the body. But in these 2-3 days, the number of bacteria must have multiplied. The number has gone very high. So PCR can detect even very low concentration of these pathogens. How does PCR help? Even when there are 5 or 6 bacteria, it can detect that yes, bacteria has. So in the initial hours only, if a person goes for a PCR, it can be detected. This technique can be used routinely to detect HIV in suspected AIDS patient. All those patients who are suspecting AIDS, this is a routine to check how many viruses are there in the body. It is also used to detect mutations in genes in suspected cancer patients, a powerful technique to identify several genetic disorders. Let's talk about cancer patients also. Initially, when the cells become cancerous, we are not able to detect them. But with the help of PCR, we can detect. So if there are 5 or 6 cells which have become cancerous, we can treat them before it spreads to the neighboring. Malignant, it spreads out. Malignant tumors. There are 2 types of tumors and cancers, malignant and non-malignant. When we talk about cancer, it's a different concept. The one which spreads to the nearby cells also. Infectious kind of a. Supposing 4 cells have become cancerous, then all the neighboring cells will also start becoming cancerous. It becomes very, very dangerous at that time. Okay, malignant tumors. But over here, we can detect them earlier. So how is PCR helping you for early detection of a disease? As I told you, when a bacteria enters a body or a virus enters the body, we can only test it once we have the symptoms. But PCR helps us to find them only when the amount is very less. Where can PCR be used better? To detect what? 2 cases you have to remember. That is HIV in AIDS and for cancer patients. Tell me 2 important applications of PCR.
To detect HIV in AIDS and cancer patients.
Yes, in cancer patients. Even genetic disorders can be identified. The second is recombinant DNA technology. This is again a diagnostic technique. I'll be taking up the entire diagnostic topic again, one by one, after we explain one to you. What do we do in this? We take a single stranded DNA or an RNA. Either take an RNA because we know RNA is single stranded, or if RNA is not available, then take only one strand of DNA. Tag it with a radioactive molecule called probe. Tag it means attach it. Attach it with which kind of a molecule? What is special mention about? Yes, it's a radioactive molecule. This radioactive molecule, we call it as a probe. What do we call it as?
Probe.
Probe. So what did you take, children? Either you took an RNA, which is already single stranded, or take one strand of DNA and attach a radioactive molecule to it, which is known as
Probe.
probe. And then let it have a complementary DNA. That means let it be double stranded now. We are going to attach a complementary DNA and clones of cells, copies will be made. Many copies of such cells will be made. These cells are then detected by autoradiography. Now we are going to observe these cells with the help of a technique, autoradiography. What is the special thing we had attached the single-stranded DNA or the RNA, children?
Probe.
Radioactive molecule.
The radioactive material, that is your probe. Now what will happen when you will observe it on a screen? Those clones which have mutated genes, mutated means those clones which have genes which are different from others, is not observed on the photographic film because the probe does not show complementarity with the mutant gene. What will happen? This probe will not show complementarity with, it will not attach to which gene? It will not have the double strands made for which kind of genes? Mutated genes. What are mutated genes?
Defected or anything.
Yes, there is a sudden change in the gene. It could be a structural change, it could be a functional change, it could be that the gene has become inactive. All these genes are called mutated genes. Wherever there is a change in the normal gene, what are these genes called as?
Mutated genes.
Yes. Beta, it could be a structural change, some addition is there, some deletion is there, or it could be a functional change, or it could be that the gene has become inactive. Now, understand this. This single strand was to become a double strand by attaching with what? By attaching with the complementary DNA part? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
But this probe will not go show complementarity with which gene. It will not attach, it will not make a double-stranded DNA with which kind of genes? The genes which are?
Mutated.
Yes. So all those clones, all those cells which had a mutated gene will not be observed on the photographic film. You will only see the normal genes on the photographic film. So you can identify how many are not being observed. Supposing you had 100 and you're able to see only 60. That means your 40 genes are which genes?
Mutated.
Mutated gene.
Mutated genes. So you can identify that yes, there is some disease or there is some problem. In these 40 genes, they are mutated. Some problem is there. And the last is very important, ELISA technique. I think you've heard about this. This is a simple antigen-antibody interaction. Infection by pathogens can be detected by the presence of antigens like we have in COVID these days. Very simple. Antibody test. What is it? Supposing in a body a pathogen is entered, a virus is entered, and then the body starts producing what? Antibodies. Same process, beta. A pathogen is infecting, okay? And it can be detected by the presence of antigens. How do we check that yes, the pathogen has entered? It will carry some antigens with it, like proteins and glycoproteins. What will it carry with it?
Proteins and glycoproteins.
Yes. And once the antigens enter, the body will start producing antibodies. So we can test in the blood. If antibodies are present, that means the pathogen has infected. Like after COVID also, people go for antibody tests. What does this show? That yes, the body has developed antibodies against the COVID virus. How did it develop antibodies? Because first time the pathogen must have entered. The body could not identify the pathogen because it's a new virus. Okay. So the person suffers from COVID. But once the person has already suffered from COVID, another 6 months or 4 to 6 months, the doctors say that the person will not get infected by COVID. This is the reason why the government suggests that once a person is COVID positive, they need not go for vaccination for 3 months. They can take vaccine even after 90 days. What is the logic behind it, children? Why has the government suggested this? Tell me. Why COVID patients, once they become COVID negative, they can comfortably live for 90 days. They don't need a vaccine also in those days. Any reason?
Because they already have antibodies against COVID.
Yes, beta. They already have natural antibodies. So how to